Welcome to the SFC Markets and Finance. The 2024 Zhongguancun Forum kicked off on Thursday in Beijing and will focus on cutting-edge fields from artificial intelligence, life science, to new materials during the 5-day session. With the theme of Innovating for a Better World, the forum has assembled participants from over 100 countries and regions, with more than half of its speakers coming from abroad. For more details, let's hear from SFC reporter 焦一飞 on the theme.
我现在所在的位置呢，是2024年中关村论坛年会的现场。未来5天，全球科技创新顶尖领域的专家、学者以及企业家将汇聚于此，探讨人工智能大模型、具身智能、量子信息、光子计算以及脑机接口等多种国际前沿科技的发展趋势。同时呢，中关村国际技术交易大会也会同时举办，3000多项高水平的跨国技术转移项目将在大会上进行推介。我们也从大会上了解到呢，目前中国的战略性新兴产业增加值占国内生产总值的比重已经超过了13%，成为了科技创新产业成果化的充分体现。相信随着各个会议的陆续召开呢，中关村论坛也将为全球的科技合作注入新的活力，为建设美好的世界探寻更多的创新方案。值得一提的是呢，今天也是北京国际车展的开幕日。早上，小米的 CEO 雷军还现身了北京车展，参加了小米汽车的发布会，然后马不停蹄地赶到了20多公里以外的现在的中关村论坛。谈及小米汽车，雷军分享到，智能电动汽车发展了10年，上半场是电动化，下半场是智能化，并且下半场才刚刚开始。在雷军看来呢，智能化才是汽车的灵魂，而智能化也是中关村论坛的巨大优势，这也是小米敢进入汽车行业的底气所在。
Thank you, Yifei. During today's conference, international scientists and experts from different fields also shared their insights with SFC reporter on the importance of the openness for sharing the scientific innovation and technology globally, as what Zhongguancun Forum did for the world.
I've been a scientist for about 40 years, and about 35 years of those I've done HIV research. And in HIV, I have seen how from where I started 35 years ago to where we are now is absolutely mind-boggling. I'll give you a very specific example. Our ability to sequence the virus, HIV or any other viruses, didn't exist 35 years ago. Today we have that ability. In the face of SARS-CoV-2, we were able to move that, what we learned in HIV and with other viruses, to this new virus. And within days, we had diagnostics available. And so that's one example of where science has really evolved. But we know of many more examples how, science evolves. And there was a point, for example, that was shared this morning around the discovery of penicillin. It was by accident. By accident we did it. And then from accidents, we went to some of the tools that we had that allowed us to do things in a particular way. It took very long, very slow. And then today, with some of the digital technology and advances we see with artificial intelligence, we're able to take and do things that used to take months and years to do that within days, if not hours. And that, I think, gives you some idea of how science has evolved. And I think we're moving to a point where instead of just taking a shot in the dark and hoping it works, and I can tell you I've done that for many years, 9 times out of 10 my experiments fail. But now I have better ways of actually improving my chances of doing an experiment and the outcome being positive. And that comes from combining these large language models, the databases we have in terms of machine learning and generative AI that allows me, it's almost like I got a permanent research assistant with me available 24 hours. And I think if you speak to many scientists, that's what they say. They have a co-pilot, a navigator with them that's really accelerating it. And I think we'll see the changes. We're already living some of those changes where a lot of our life is on our phones. But in terms of medicine, where I work in biological sciences, we're really going to see things transform where we move from like doing one thing, like a one-size-fits-all approach, to a more bespoke approach that's based on evidence that come from you. So instead of just the same thing for everybody, and maybe it'll work for some people, maybe it won't work for other people. We'll be much more precise. But the challenge is that we have large inequalities in the world, within countries and between countries. And that's a very important foundation. We've got to fix those inequalities to ensure that all of humanity benefits and moves forward, no matter where you are in the world. And this is the dream and the possibility that I think science brings, to envisage that world where everyone is living their best life and doing the best they can to move us forward and to even higher heights.
At the forum this morning, it was the combination of it was very interesting for me and very impressive. Of course, there were several talks that I was especially interested in listening to, because I learned about the big investment that the country is making in, especially in technology and innovation. The combination and the balance of the different talks I found very, very appropriate. For instance, the fact that also you invited Stephen Perry, who talked about the history of China and his more personal experience, his family experience. So that was very good to counterbalance all this high tech and innovation. And that is very, very important, because we cannot forget the human side of things. In the field that brought me here, which is not my field of specialty, because I work in the foundations of quantum physics. But I did not come here because of the foundations of quantum physics. I came here because I also work in international cooperation very much. And what I found is especially challenging is that all this innovation really works for the benefit of everybody. It is a promise. Everybody says that. But in practice, it's not so easily done, no? Because there are always countries that do not invest so much, that do not have the means to invest, and that if we are not careful, no, they will lag behind more and more. So I see the risk of increasing gaps. But no, we have to make sure that all this innovation will be indeed shared, so that it is for the benefit of all humankind, and so of course also for the environment. I think, well, it's a showcase for us. It is a showcase coming from abroad, no? Because we learn very much, many interesting things about what is happening here, and we hear some very impressive talks, etc. We could also visit some of the high-tech centers. So that's, for us, it's a showcase. But I see the role of these fora rather as the space where you can invite others and establish real cooperation, no? So that we learn from each other. Everybody has something to learn, something to share, no? And you receive more when you share. So I see this as an important role for the forum. Well, I see that in the last 20 or 30 years, China has opened itself very much in science. You could hardly know about the Chinese scientists some 20 or 30 years ago. And now you see Chinese scientists, prominent scientists, almost everywhere, and doing very good science and publishing, etc. So that is a big change.
For example, by creating the CSC program, the Chinese Science Council program, by having exchange. And I think if I look backwards now, it is, so the first person that came with a program like that was in 1991. He is now the director of your best institute in plant sciences. There are several of the students that came that are now full professor in institutes here. So I think the cooperation is very effective in training people that can take jobs. But on the other hand, it's also a fantastic platform for collaborations afterwards. But to have collaborations and to create developments, such an exchange program is an example of me being in an academic world. I think it is profitable for me. It's nice to interact. It's profitable for China, especially if they go back. And it's profitable for the collaborations afterwards.
Yes.
That's all for today's show. Thanks for watching.